has robbed them of their identity. Hey, welcome back, guys. Today's topic is a reaction to a few videos that have been going around on Twitter recently, and more specifically, the reaction to those videos by other people. Now, the videos are a little bit difficult to watch. Not massively, but they can be distressing for people that have experienced the issues that the videos cover. And the videos show, well, I'll just let the videos do the talking for themselves. So, let's take a look.
No. Stop it.
No.
Stop.
No. No. You know what no means? I guess you don't. You put it on your head.
What we can see there is a care worker videoing her interactions with an elderly person who is clearly suffering with some form of dementia. Now, first of all, I want to salute all the care workers that deal with this kind of thing on a daily basis. It's not an easy job in the slightest. Personally, I know some people that work in that industry, and I've heard stories about what they have had to kind of endure and encounter. Me personally, I've worked with disabled children who've had mental difficulties, and although personally I was lucky enough not to encounter any issues like this, I've heard stories of people getting spat on, scratched, hit, abusive language labeled at them by children. So when someone's mental capacity is diminished, we have to take that into account in terms of how we interact with them and the responses we give to their behaviors. So the overwhelming response was that of calling the elderly woman racist and basically saying that, you know, if it were them in the position of the carer, they would have done X, Y, and Z. Now, I understand how emotive these videos can be. One of the other ones, which I'm not going to share, was of the same old woman with the same carer actually spitting on her and so on. And as I mentioned, working with disabled children, these things can happen. Okay, so I felt for context it was important to include a little bit of that video. So just to pre-warn, this is coming up now.
Want this one too? You want more?
But the responses of people on Twitter who were saying this was a racial example or an example of racist behavior were nothing short of disgusting. Well, just to give you a few examples off the bat, we have people saying, "Oh God, I'd beat her wrinkly ass. If old white people will remember anything, it'll be their hatred of black people. Hope the oldie sees her maker in her sleep. I've seen enough. She would have met the Lord the next minute. She must be casket ready." I could go on and on. If you look at the two videos, there is no indication of any racial motivation behind what this old lady does, even if she was sound of mind, let alone if she's suffering from dementia. Maybe I missed something in some other videos that I haven't seen yet, but even with that being the case, this is clearly a woman suffering from dementia. People who have lived with family members or know people who have family members who've lived with dementia, they can tell you that something like Alzheimer's is a horrible thing for a person to go through and experience. Not just them, but their family, because it literally changes the person. They can be night and day from the person they were when they were sound of mind compared to now. Their entire attitude, their entire personality can be completely different to anything they've displayed in the preceding 60, 70, 80 years of their life. So when we know that it can affect your reasoning skills, your memory, your behavior, and this is something you have no control over, how can you in any good conscience claim it to be racism and then wish death upon this old lady, or claim that you would basically beat her up or kill her because of her behavior? That says a lot about you and your personality and your character when you're willing to judge somebody based off of a mental disability or a mental ailment that they're suffering from. There are more than enough examples of real racism in the world not to have to reach for the sake of pandering for social media or for a little bit of clout to say, oh, I wouldn't take this behavior if it was aimed at me. It doesn't make you look good. It doesn't make you look, like you take no shit. It makes you look like an asshole for claiming you would beat up an old person who has clearly lost their mind. There's actually another video of the same carer and lady dancing happily together, which shows you how the swing can be from one point to another. So again, how on earth can you look at two examples of somebody using no racial language and use that as a basis to say they're racist and then wish death upon them? I mean, really, you have to look at yourself and look hard at yourself when you're willing to go to that level just to make a point that doesn't need to be made. And let's say, that she does use some racial language towards the carer. Yeah, it's not great. It's not a nice thing. It's a horrible thing to experience. But are we going to ignore the influence of something like Alzheimer's disease? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that this woman 60 years ago was racist. 60 years ago, it was a lot more acceptable to hold certain ideas and beliefs. Wrong as they are, people still may have been more likely to hold those beliefs. And then over time, they learn that those beliefs are unfounded, they're wrong, they are inhuman in a lot of ways. These beliefs belong 60, 70 years in the past and not today. They've unlearned the racism. They've become what we would class by today as a more understanding and more upstanding person when it comes to issues of race. And then something like Alzheimer's hits and destroys their brain functions, affects their memory, and almost resets them back to 60 years ago. And because of that, they are now going to behave and say things that are a little bit more racially charged. Does that justify saying that you should beat the woman or kill the woman or hope that she dies? When she's unlearned that behavior over the course of however many years, and something that's completely out of her control resets her to a point in her life that she may well have been completely ashamed of when she was still sound of mind. I'd like to ask those people that were so quick to share the video and share how they would beat the woman up, or they hope she died, or they would kill her if she was doing the same thing because it was racially charged. How would you feel if your parent or your grandparent was suffering from dementia and their carer decided to film the interactions and post it online? And your parent, your grandparent is doing some pretty horrible stuff. Spitting, slapping, scratching, all this stuff. And the response that that video gets is people saying, if that was me, I wouldn't take that. I would beat that old man or old woman. I would X and Y. I hope she dies in her sleep, or I hope he, dies pretty soon, or I would kill that person if they ever did that to me. And you know that that person that you're seeing in the video is not your parent or your grandparent, because the mental disease has robbed them of their identity. How would you feel reading those comments knowing that people are labeling your parent or your grandparent a despicable person and wishing harm and death upon them, when you know it's not their fault and it's not something that they're actively choosing to do? And also, we gotta ask, why is this care worker filming this and then sharing it online? Unless the woman decided, I want the world to see what you have to go through, so please record this and share it. Maybe she did, I don't know. I haven't been able to see the source material in terms of where these videos actually came from. But number one, I find that highly unlikely. And number two, I'm sure it must go against some kind of protocol if you're a care worker. You should not be able to share what you do in your job with somebody who can't really give consent because their mind is not there. I mean, all in all, this says a lot about the motivations of people when it comes to social media. First of all, in a situation where there's absolutely no indication that race was a motivator, people jumped on it and used that as a reason or as an excuse to say some pretty horrible things. In a world where we have so many examples of genuine racial discrimination and racial abuse, just look at what's happening to Premier League footballers here at the moment whenever their team loses. Despicable acts of racial commentary and racial attacks just because that player was playing for your team and they didn't win. We see that and it's despicable. You have all these kind of examples, and yet you want to use something completely innocent and quite frankly incredibly sad as a means to justify you saying that you want to do physical harm and wish death upon somebody who has no choice in the existence that they are currently existing. So if you're one of those people that shared this and was happy to put out that opinion, I feel sorry for you. I really do, because it says a lot about you and your character. And I'm leaving it there. Until next time, guys, peace.